Well, a very good morning, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. It might even be a good evening. Once again, I say thank you for joining my channel. Welcome to the channel. If you're a newbie or returning, everybody is welcome. And I'm going to invite you in advance to make your own comments, because that's what this channel is about, is sharing information so that we all can grow. You know, the more information we can access, the more we can process it, the more we can identify what works for us and what doesn't. So yes, anyway, if you are new to the channel, just a reminder, I do have chapter timing in the description, so you can jump from space to space, just in case I end up going down, as they say, the rabbit warren. And just a reminder to people, if you are a returning visitor, obviously I really appreciate you. If you're new to the channel, you might not be aware, I do have a little doggy who sometimes gets a bit active when I'm recording, and I'm just going to push on through and ignore him as best I can, and I hope that you can as well. He's very busy, he's very cute, and he's got a couple of squeaky toys, but I think he's killed all of them, so we should be good for today. Today, did I mention we're talking about the crystal healer's gold, which is sometimes referred to as Apache stone, and is not to be mistaken for golden healer. That's a totally different crystal, and I will be putting up a video about that, because this is one of my new purchases, is the golden healer, but I've had healer's gold for quite a while, and it's one that I really love, and I think that you'll love it as well. So as always, of course, I'm no expert on crystals, just letting you know, from as far as a geological perspective goes. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert of crystals per se anyway, because there are so many of them. But obviously I've been given a bit of information from people along the way in my travels, if you like, and I've picked up knowledge and information through using and experimenting. And I'm always going to let you know what my experiences are and encourage you to give me feedback on yours. Now, anyway, the first thing is, when we talk about, I'm going to refer to this as healer's gold. When we talk about healer's gold, you can see it's a gold and black type. Well, this is a tumbled stone that we're looking at here, but it's got these variations of shade with it. Now, the reason being, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I normally talk about the mineral stuff on a separate slide, but when we talk about the appearance of healer's gold, it deserves an explanation. It's because it's composed of two particular minerals, one being pyrite and the other one being magnetite. Now, obviously, it's the pyrite that gives it the gold look, and the magnetite is the interspersing of the black, that goes within this crystal. Now, if you were to hold a piece of magnetite in your hand, it actually feels quite heavy. As far as it being called Apache stone, well, that was a bit of a learning experience for me, because I actually have always only known it as healer's gold, but at some point in time, apparently it was referred to as Apache stone. And with my research into this video, it's been called Apache stone. That's a trademark name, which means that basically you couldn't call it Apache stone if you had a piece of healer's gold, unless you knew that it had been found in Apache territory in Arizona, which is where they found a deposit. And I want to be clear here, because I know that there is going to be, well, I don't know, I presume there might be geologists that watch this and go like, oh, whatever, Apache stone or healer's gold, oh my goodness me, here they come exploiting the vulnerable again. Because for a geo, they're just going to look at this as being a piece of magnetite or pyrite, and or a mixture, poor quality, one or the other. What was interesting to me is, on the geology websites, I actually can't find any information about it. And this is obviously because it's not considered to be a standalone crystal like we might say sodalite is one, and they can give you a description of what constitutes sodalite, for example, and where it's found. Well, it's a little more difficult to do when we talk about a pyrite magnetite mix, okay, when we're talking technicalities. But let's go back to the name of Apache stone, okay, which is the trademark. Now, I found a website. The thing is, I can understand to some extent why geos get a little frustrated at us, if I can speak, metaphysical workers, because there's so much misinformation that goes around. And I think the problem that I found when doing my research was because it's not geologically substantiated. Even I'm not 100% with the terminology of Apache stone. I'm okay, I'm good with the term healer's gold, but I found a Rockhound website is what I'm talking about, and they refer to Apache stone as being chalcopyrite, and I have a few problems with that, in that chalcopyrite is a different crystal, if you like. It actually has, it is substantiated on the Geo website's chalcopyrite. I've got a piece of it, and mine tends to have the rainbow reflections on it. So chalcopyrite is a totally different crystal to healer's gold. The problem for me with the Rockhound website was, that's not the name of it, by the way. I'm not promoting the website. It was where somebody was calling themselves a Rockhound, so that's why I'm calling it a Rockhound website. So anyway, they've made this statement that Apache stone is chalcopyrite, and it was found in the Apache territory of Arizona. And then they've got a photograph up of healer's gold. Like, whatever, they're two different. Chalcopyrite and healer's gold are two different crystals. You can do your Google on it and you'll see what I mean. The same website also said that Apache stone is basically made up of the two iron. That's not correct. Okay, pyrite and magnetite both contain iron in their chemical structure. So this is what gives it the weight when you hold it in your hand. Apache stone is supposed to be highly sought after. What can I say about that? Due to its rarity, its unusual appearance or whatever, but they've got a photograph up of healer's gold. So anyway, I'm going to set aside the terminology of Apache stone here and stick to referring to this as healer's gold, in the knowledge it's black and gold. It doesn't have any rainbows attached to it. It's just black and gold. The best example of an image of the healer's gold is actually on the thumbnail for this video. That's a really good piece. You know, when we start talking about the buyer's tips, I actually haven't found a better piece of healer's gold online as far as images go. I should have mentioned that to some extent healer's gold is referred to as a master healer, but not by everybody, okay? And the other thing is too, when we talk about the links and associations with the Zodiac, there's even debate as to where or who is most suited towards healer's gold. There is recommendations that people under the sun sign of Leo and Capricorn, that they will receive benefit from it. But the bottom line is, and there seems to be consensus here, that it is suitable for all star signs. Anybody of any sign of the zodiac can comfortably use it, and take it home, I think, is the best thing to do. If you can go into a shop and actually feel it and handle it, then that's the one for you to take home. And I don't know about you, but even with that beautiful photo on the thumbnail, if you're familiar with healer's gold, I'm not sure that photograph does it full justice, because I really think the beauty of healer's gold is when you put it in your hand. So from an overview perspective, the healer's gold is basically one about, you know, if you considered your body to be like a house, you need to have strong foundations to support the house. You know, you've got to have that cement pad in first. Well, that's how we do it in Australia. You put down your cement pad and then you build the walls up from there, and the roof goes on later on, and that kind of thing. Well, it's the same kind of thing when you're actually doing your spiritual journey and you're opening up to the spiritual stuff. You've got to build the foundations first. And it's from the foundations that you're able to move upwards energetically in a stable way. And so from an overview perspective, the real true beauty of healer's gold, I believe, is in building these foundations, supporting a person to be able to ground and protect themselves, to offer stability of their aura, their personality. That includes emotional stability and psychological stability. It's empowering. It instills confidence and hope and faith and trust into people. Now, if you've watched the pyrite video, you will know that pyrite is an attractant to abundance and prosperity and good fortune. So in summary, Healer's Gold is about spiritual and personal growth and development. So from a mineral perspective, the whole practical stuff, I'll just give you the information that I've sourced, which is that it is an unusual structure and it tends to occur in volcanic environments. And it's a matter of that. I mean, they've got the big words and the big names, which is all too much for me. But basically, it's about heated water circulating through the rocks. This is volcanic activity, and the fluids cooling down and solidifying, and they become these pyrite type deposits that we call Healer's Gold. Now, as I said before, my jury's out on this as to whether or not it's primarily found in US and Arizona, because there is other locations where it's sourced, and that includes other parts of America, or the US rather. Then you can also find deposits in Mexico, Russia, Nevada actually is another place where it's sourced, and Chile, you can get it there apparently. And although I haven't got the names of them, what I found was that, yes, there are places in Europe where you can actually collect it. I think it's Italy was the other one. But look, as a collectible, I understand that it is attractive to rock collectors, whether they're into metaphysical properties or not, because it actually is quite a pretty rock. But they would be after the ones that we have on the thumbnail. The rest of us, we're not into, I guess, I would certainly love to have a piece like the thumbnail. And the piece that I've got actually does have a really good balance of the black and the gold, and my piece is polished. This piece here that you're looking at on this image is one that's in the rough. Now, I wouldn't say it's super common, but it's not super rare. But it's certainly, depending on demand and the quality of the crystal, that's going to determine the price. And my understanding is that the more contrast between the colours is what actually basically pushes the price up. Unfortunately, when we talk about price, the buying price or the selling price of Healer's Gold tends to be, I think for most of us, quite affordable, although it can be pricey. It is, from what I can gather, pretty straightforward as far as buying tips go. I don't think there are any fakes out there. So it really is simply a case of you establishing, when it comes to the price of your item, what you're prepared to pay and the legitimacy of the crystal. So basically, if you were looking at Healer's Gold and it's called Apache tier, you will probably be paying more for that crystal because of the name. So then you would want to establish, is this actually located? Was it sourced from Apache territory? You want to have a legitimate seller for that. So you want to verify them. For the rest of us, though, if we're happy just to buy Healer's Gold as opposed to Apache stone, and then it's quite simple. You just really want to ask, this is under the information that I have that there's no fakes. So from there, you just want to know, how big is it? If you're buying a sphere, is it a small sphere, if I can speak? What's the diameter of it? What is the weight of it? And this is the same with the tumbles as well. That's going to influence you. You can get a better idea when you know the dimensions and that kind of stuff. Now, this is straightforward buying tips. I've done the buying tip video, which is, of course, you want the dimensions. If it's an obelisk or something like that, you want to know the height. You want to know the width at the base. And then you also want to do a currency conversion. You want to know the location. You want that currency conversion if we're in Australia and buying from the US, say. And then the really important thing is to look at the extra charges that they might add, such as freight and handling and that kind of stuff, because all of this is going to determine whether or not you've got a good buy, if you're getting it for a good price, or if you're paying over the top or double bubble, as we call it. This helps you to negotiate and basically buy a crystal and not feel ripped off. So, when it comes to the metaphysical benefits, if you haven't gathered already, if you're not aware of the terminology of masculine and feminine energy, and I'm going to continue to use those terms, okay? It might not be politically correct, but we're not talking about gender here, we're talking about energy, okay? So, um, Healer's Gold is a masculine energy. And when we talk about masculine energy, we're talking about the energetic aspects of things like protection, providence, taking care of base needs. This is the foundational stuff, being able to feed, that whole provider stuff. The feminine energy is supposed to be the nourish, nurture, and the masculine energy is protect and provide. So when we look at the spiritual metaphysical benefits here, of course, we see that you can use Healer's Gold for both physical and psychic protection. It acts as a shield against, I'm looking at my notes here, negative energies, environmental pollutants. If you are experiencing bullying, that would be, because that's so prevalent now, that's a form of emotional attack. And it's said to be able to protect people from physical harm as well. If you've got workplace tensions or your home is going through some tensions as well. From an environmental perspective, it's supposed to actually harmonise the dynamics in those spaces. Overall, it's supposed to balance the polarity. So it is a masculine energy, but it is said to balance the masculine and the feminine energies. And when we talk about this, we're talking about the polarities within the yin, the yang, and giving and receiving, if you like. If you tend to be an overgiver and block receptivity of people trying to give back to you, and this includes even love, then it's said to balance out those attributes. So if you have excessive energy, perhaps somebody with, I'm speculating here, somebody with ADHD or whatever that can't sit still, we would say that they've got excessive energy. So apparently its benefits include grounding the excessive energy. When it comes to intention, and we always talk about this, is how when we're trying to manifest, we actually have to set our intention of what it is that we're trying to achieve. Well, apparently, Healer's Gold acts as an amplifier of the intention. If you're into things like astral travel and trying to do interdimensional communication, it's recommended for use. Certainly, it's recommended for use with meditation. What I found was quite interesting, though, is that people who act as energy healers or are human service workers, where they work with people, especially in the health environment, they would be recommended to wear Healer's Gold as either a bracelet or a pendant or whatever, because that would be a talisman for them. If you're unsure or feeling numb through life, you've had a lot of kickbacks and setbacks, if you like, and you've lost your passion and drive and you're confused about your purpose and your direction in life, it's believed to actually awaken you once again and to bring back, restore passion and purpose, to help you to achieve your true potential. When we talk about relationships, it's supposed to benefit there through that balance of the giving and receiving, and also through balancing power and control. Okay, if there's any issues there, it's said to promote self-discovery, that journey of spiritual self-discovery, and also spiritual well-being. And so therefore, based on all of this, it's considered to be a stone of transformation and unity. So physically, it's said to guard against pollutants and the contagious diseases, as well as fungal infections, colds, flus, viruses, all of those kind of things. And this is why it's recommended for people that work in those industries. It's also suggested that it be part of a treatment plan for those people that are recovering from infectious or treatment-resistant diseases. It's believed to root out any karmic or psychosomatic causes of disease. That's where we sort of say, what you think is what you create, and your feelings impact on your physical health. It helps to unpack. I say helps, allegedly, okay? And to support the nourishment of the body. So Other systems or physical systems it's said to benefit are the circulatory system. It's said to increase the supply of blood to the body, especially to the respiratory system and the lungs. And this is said to alleviate conditions such as asthma and bronchitis. It might be beneficial to people who've got blood disorders, okay, to support rapid repair. And if there's cellular problems and there's a need for cell regeneration. So it's also said to repair, if I can speak, to support rapid repair of bone breaks and fractures and any wound healing, actually. It's also said to stimulate the endocrine function. And an interesting thing, if you're a bloke watching this, a bloke being an Australian word for a male or a man, it's supposed to actually help heal male impotence and if there's fertility or reproductive issues for men. It's said to help build physical strength, energy, and vitality, and encourages a healthy work-life balance. So if you've been struggling with questions like, who am I, what am I doing, what am I meant to be doing, am I a good person, am I a bad person, all of that stuff, what is it I like, what don't I like, what is the meaning, what is my role in life? These are the things that healer, or the questions that Healer's Gold is supposed to assist you to be able to answer, because these are the foundations to be able to build our life going forward. It is kind of essential that we at least have an idea of who we are and to have our personal identity, to know what our role is within the whole. I mean, this is, I guess, one of the things that is often misconstructed by people or misunderstood, is we are all individually unique, special, valued, loved beings. We all have unique traits to us as individuals, but those unique traits that we have, they complement the whole, the mass, because there is a pool of humanity, and so therefore we are all important to this great big pool. So it's supposed to help you to identify what your role is, I guess, and how that works for you. It's empowering. It promotes inner harmony. It supports this balance, and that includes the emotional balance. It is believed to reduce stress, anxiety, and tension, and support overcoming challenges with a positive attitude, and also to build confidence in decision making through clarity of thought, and finding. It stimulates creativity. It helps you to find solutions to problems. These are the claims, which I believe, each to their own. If you've struggled with mental health or emotional type disorders, that's part of the balance, getting that stability back into your entire sense of self, and managing your emotional reactions. If you've struggled because you've had a lot of obstacles in your path, then it helps to build the resilience and the endurance and the capacity to pick yourself up and brush the dirt off your knees and keep on going. If you need to be able to concentrate and focus for long periods of time, it's said to assist that. So there's a lot of benefits there. Feeling safe, I'm just looking at my notes again, and overcoming thoughts of self-doubt, improving your self-esteem, and supporting this base survival need, helps to meet those needs by giving will, I guess. Sometimes people decide that it's all too hard just trying to survive. This is when they've hit rock bottom. So it sort of reinvigorates that desire to live, not just live well, but to thrive. So it's an invigorating type crystal. Persistence, I'm just looking at anyone's. I think that's all of it. I think I've covered pretty much all of them. If somebody's struggling with cognitive dissonance, and that's that space of where your mind is telling you one thing but your heart is telling you something else, in those instances, actually, that's that confusion. Well, you would wear and work with Healer's Gold to get to that space where you can see clearly and think clearly about your next actions. I think you'll find that most people will say that when it comes to Healer's Gold and the chakras, that it's focused more on the solar plexus, the yellow chakra, and your base chakra, and even your earth star. If you go down, the base chakra being red, I'm stumbling over my words here. This is because this is one of those scenarios where there's ifs and buts and all the rest of it. Rule of thumb is the base chakra is red, but sometimes it's represented as black, and most black crystals resonate with the base chakra. However, there is another chakra that is below the feet, which is not part of your physical body. It's part of your etheric body and your auras, and that one's called your earth star. So it will work with that. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, look, my belief is that it doesn't just work with those lower three chakras, because you talk about emotions, personal power, trust, faith of the yellow, and then you've got base needs in the red. I'm going to say that it actually works with the crown as well, because as you stabilize those three lower chakras and you center and ground to the earth, obviously you get that stability there. It's kind of like, I'm going to say, the thought processing, that cognitive space of confusion, because it offers clarity. That's thought. So to me, that's crown. And this is why I will say it's also linked with the crown chakra. I don't think it would bypass the other chakras, but it wouldn't, I'm being very diplomatic with my words here, I wouldn't say that it would be terribly effective on the heart chakra up to the brow. I think its strength within the chakra system will lay with the four chakras I've mentioned, or the five, which is the crown, the yellow, the solar plexus, the orange, the red, and the earth star. And part of this, the reason why I'm saying this, is because when we talk about the gifts of healer's gold, it actually includes inner knowing, gut instinct. And that is what we refer to, or certainly I refer to, as claircognizance. You just know. It feels right, you know, and you will potentially, most people have had some form of claircognizance at some point in time. And the first one that comes off hand to me or to mind is actually hearing when somebody has been diagnosed with a terminal illness, and me just automatically knowing that this is not going to have a happy ending. Of course, you can't tell people that because, if you've got somebody that has got a terminal illness, we're always hopeful that they're going to recover. But I think that is the example that most people will relate to, is where they will say, and for some reason, I just knew that they weren't going to recover. But I never said anything, is always the underlying or the secondary comment. So that's claircognizance anyway. So there's any number of ways that you can use healer's gold. I mean, it's really up to your own discretion. If people are working in the health industries, quite often they're not allowed to wear pendants. So they might want to hold a tumbled stone on their person, in a pouch or tucked in a bra or whatever. Metaphysical workers might want to wear a pendant or a pair of earrings with healer's gold on it. If you're meditating, you might want to hold a palm stone or a sphere or an obelisk. It's how you use healer's gold is going to be restricted only by your own imagination. I wouldn't have thought, to be honest, that healer's gold would be much good for earrings, because they are weighty, and of course earlobes get stretched, especially if they're pierced earrings. I think that's what you call them. But certainly, if you had one of these little points that I've got here, these two little obelisks, which are semi-polished, by the way, whoever created these, they've only cut and polished the top of the point, and the base of it is actually raw. I think that is an amazing way to actually turn the healer's gold into an ornament to be put in the room for the environmental purification. And I think it would look wonderful in a healing room, and it would also still be very effective. So yes, any way you want to use them. I don't think that you would use them as a bracelet, but who knows? If you have, let me know. So if somebody were to pull my healer's gold out of my lucky dip, to me, that would be a fairly strong indication that they're actually having to rebuild their life. They've hit rock bottom, they've bottomed out, and now it's a new beginning, but it's a new beginning that is a practical new beginning, and this can happen even for people that like to call themselves spiritually aware. If they're ungrounded and off with the fairies, they start making unwise decisions. I know that sounds bizarre. We can talk about that in another video, or if you want to expand and me to expand on it, then ask me some questions. But basically, it's about starting over, but this time starting over sensibly, and making sure that everything is in order. Because there is this saying, yes, we are spiritual beings having an earthly experience, but the earthly experience means addressing earthly needs. And if we're off with the fairies in our head all the time, then we're not actually living our earthly life, certainly not in practical ways, and we can create a lot of problems for ourselves. So if they were to draw healer's gold, that would be basically saying to me that this person is at that stage of starting out and rebuilding, and that they need to be given some encouragement on how to best do that. And it could be going back to basics, showing them the spiritual hygiene. It could be saying, okay, go and see a financial advisor. It could be things like that. And the other thing is, it could also be, in some instances, a warning. If they are not taking care of themselves, and if they work in these high-risk fields, then there could be a boundary compromise that may lead to ill health. But having said that, of course, I don't think I would deliver it as a warning. I think I would deliver it more along the lines of, you are being encouraged to wear this as a talisman, to help protect your aura, to protect your health and well-being, and to help you to maintain that balance and stability that you need in your life. If they're working in the health industries, the chances are they might have a really poor work-life balance as well. So it could be you actually need to be wearing this so that you can get a balance into your work-life hours, because obviously that kind of imbalance is not sustainable over the long term, and they need to do some self-care. So that becomes a case of putting in place healthy boundaries and thinking clearly when they're making their decisions. So that would probably be the message that I would give to a person, and encouraging them to communicate directly with their guides and angels, because once they start doing that, things are going to happen very quickly. So when it comes to caring for your healer's gold, and this includes the ornaments or the jewelry, I do have up a separate video on the crystal magic playlist that you can go and look for in there, but specifically related to healer's gold, it's fairly hardy. So yes, when you're cleaning it, you can submerge it in water, mild, preferably a very mild soapy water, without too much worry, especially if this is important, if your jewelry is set in gold or silver. So what I find is that if it's a pendant, it picks up grime. So you could simply put it in a very mild soapy solution, tepid water, leave it soak for about 5 minutes, then brush it off with a very soft toothbrush if you need to, and then when you finish, rinse it again under clear water and dry it off with a soft cloth. That's how you would clean it. But if you're going to do the energy recharging, because you're into the metaphysical stuff like what I am, there's a number of different ways you can do it. Smudging is always popular, like what you see with the sage bundle here. People use Palo Santo, but you can also use herbs like lavender and sandalwood. There's a whole range of cleansing herbs or purification herbs. Rosemary and juniper come to mind while I think about it as well. If you feel that you're drawn to a particular herb, Google it and check out what the properties are. That might be part of essential oils and vaporizing or whatever. But ideally, when you do the smudging, do open a door or a window, because that is said to let the negative energy out. Healer's gold is supposed to be able to tolerate sun exposure. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that I don't recommend sun exposure for most crystals here in Australia, simply because we've got such bright sunlight and it can discolour the crystals. I don't know if this is the case with Healers Gold, so your input would be appreciated, but I would imagine that a certain amount of sun exposure, like placing it on your windowsill for an hour or so, which is basically a sun bath, would be perfectly fine. Fine, not fined, if I can speak. When it comes to things like candles, using a lit tea light or whatever, well, fire is supposed to be really good at burning off any energetic dross. That's the stagnant energy, the negative energy that stays in the atmosphere. So if you don't have a window, that might be a good option. But if you're going to do that one, you need to make sure that your candle is in a holder, and it is not near anything flammable. And I have experience of putting a tea light candle not in a candle holder, but directly onto a wooden dressing table that I had, actually, and it did start to burn. Okay, it left a black mark, a ring on the wood. So I would not advise ever not putting your tea light candles into a candle holder, because they will actually get hot and they do set things on fire. So be very careful if you're going to do that. If you've watched my previous videos, you're going to know that I rely on selenite a lot. I love my selenite. It's the easiest option for me, whether it is a tumbled stone, whether it's a tower, whether it's jewelry. I always lay my crystals on selenite for purification and cleansing them. Sometimes I do put things out in moonlight. I love moonlight and rain for cleansing and recharging crystals. And other times I will do what's called the earthing, which is putting them in the garden. Back in the day, I used to do Reiki and sometimes sound healing when I had my Tibetan bowls and bells. But they're just some of my suggestions. Do you have, I'm going to put it to you, do you have a preferred method of cleansing your crystals? What works easiest for you? I like to do things the easy way, and the less time consuming it is, the better for me. But anyway, I shall leave you to think on that. Well, I say thank you very much for being part of my journey today. I hope you have a blessed week. I'm very grateful for the fact that my little doggy has been so well behaved. A funny little story before I head off, though, is I took a phone call today, and it was a business phone call, and I had a man on the phone, and it was one of those situations where you think, like, oh, goodness me, I forgot to charge my phone up. And my phone charge is in my bedroom beside my bed. So, of course, I've run in there, plugged it in, taken the call. And as I'm taking the call, of course, my little Toby man jumps up, lies down beside me, got his head on my chest, and he's panting and puffing away. I don't know why. But all of a sudden, I realised that this poor man listening to me on the phone when I was talking would have heard all this huffing and puffing. And I said, that's not me. Just so you know, if you can hear that puffing, it's not me panting down the phone at you, okay? Which obviously led to a lot of laughter. But anyway, for now, I'm going to leave that thought with you so you can have a laugh at my expense. And I'm just going to say, have a blessed day, blessed week. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.